Now then, YouTube. This video is inspired by the Sarah saga, or Sarah saga, of Dale Piper. And this is going to be mine and Jack's journey, a series. So stay tuned. Hope we're all well. First of all, we'll do a bit of housekeeping. I'm smoking some Sammy G Black Forest in the little short smoke LCS Briars Park. I was inspired to smoke this after Trucking Piper Bob got some, and it was really dry and awful experience. And I remember I had a tin and really enjoyed it, so much so I bought another 2 tins, I think, so I've got about 8 out of it. Forgot all about it for a couple of years, so I thought I'd bring someone on holiday with me and get reacquainted. So this series, I shall do one episode and see if you guys like it, because at the end of the day, I'm no storyteller like Dale. He just reels off his tongue, poetic almost. I think it must be all the books he reads. And I suppose it starts in infant school. I believe in America that's kindergarten. In infant school, I haven't got many memories, but towards the end, I can remember. I used to have plenty of friends and stuff, don't get me wrong, but I never really fit in. All my friends and that would be talking about Pokemon cards and dinosaurs and Thomas the Tank Engine and whatever else. And although I knew what dinosaurs were and Thomas the Tank Engine and Pokemon cards, I did have some, they didn't really pique my interest. My interests were chickens, believe it or not. I love chickens. And I suppose that's sparked, the interest sparked from my granddad. My granddad's always had poultry. So has his dad. And my Uncle Jeff, his brother, was always his top pigeon flyer, and he always had chickens as well, and canaries. So I've come from a family of bird lovers, well, all livestock really. My granddad used to show hackney horses until getting too old. So I used to keep quiet because I knew if I mentioned at infant school how much I love chickens, people would probably make fun of me. And even if I did, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation about them because they didn't know what I knew about chickens from an early age. So we'll skip a few years. So secondary school, which is high school in America, I think you go up there about 11 or 12. I got to a point now where I just about convinced my mum and dad, or my granddad had, that I could have my own chickens. And there was only really one breed for me, and that was Old English Game. Now, Old English Game is a real controversial breed, if you like, because of its origin. Before, I believe it's still all right in America, but in the 1900s here, cockfighting was banned. But people still continue to love the breed and breed them purely just for show. And my family was one of those families that transitioned for the past 100 years and just showed Old English game. But the problem is with Old English game, even though they're only bred for showing now, it was still important to capture all that aggression and vigour in the birds, so that when they was in the show pen, they'd have that look about them, a look of, they could ready to throw towel in and start a fight at any time. They needed to have that look, and a lot of the time they're aggressive. So as a young child, the bantam version really appealed to me, and I could get the large fowl version, the bigger Old English game, easy enough. My granddad, my Uncle Jeff, all kept them and had ties to them. But it was the Old English game banties, which is short for bantam, was the ones that I wanted. So, first things first, it's a bit of a secret world, Old English game, because sadly, well, any game birds, sadly they get pinched in England quite a lot. So often the show breeders are very secretive as to who they talk to and who they tell, etc. So the first things first was to join the Old English Game Club. Which I did, with the help of my granddad. And once I joined the club, you get vetted, and to join the club you've got to be invited in, which was easily enough because of my granddad's ties with the large Old English Game. We knew enough people to get me into the club, so I got into the Old English Game Bantam Club. And then I expressed my desire to want some Old English game birds. And I got in touch with the club secretary, or rather my granddad did for me. And he said there's 4 breeders in your area, so to speak. We'll get in touch with them, ask them if it's okay to pass your number on, and we'll go from there. So out of them 4 people, there was only 2 people that was prepared to talk to me, or my granddad. So the first person was the closest person to me, who we rung in about 3 villages up, and his name was Alan Fern. I don't believe he's with us anymore. So we spoke to Alan Fern, and he was the first person that was actually willing to speak to me about Old English Game, but sadly he didn't have any for sale. So he says, sorry, I can't help you. So then it came to the second phone number. Now the second phone number was a guy called Philip Lamb. Again, sadly he's no longer with us. And I became very familiar with Philip Lamb because when I spoke to him who was willing to help me. He said, "You seem a very nice, polite young man. Come and see me." So he lived in a place called Matlock, which is not too far away from me. It's a real hilly, picturesque area full of stone buildings, stone houses and things, steeped in history. So I always remember, this was Sunday, for example, and we was going to arrange to go and see him on Friday night after school. Now, as a man, if this happened, you'd arrange that, and then before you know it, it'd be Friday and you'd be going to see Philip Lamb. As a child, I remember it dragged. It felt like a month. I was so excited that I could finally be getting some Old English game. So, long story short, Friday comes, and that day was like a week in itself. I couldn't wait to finish school. So I finished school, my mum picked me up, dropped me down to the yard, and me and my granddad embarked on our mission. Oh, we've got no lighter. We embarked on our mission for some Old English game. So we went to Matlock, and I remember following my granddad sheepishly up the path. To his house, and the door opened, and this great big massive chap answered the door with a deep voice, and even now, outside of me, he'd be a massive chap. He must be 6'5", and he welcomed us into his house. And we sat down on the settee, and I noticed on the wall I'd got beautiful oil paintings or Old English game. And he was talking to me and talking to my granddad, but I was itching. I couldn't engage properly in this conversation because I wanted to see these birds. I'd been waiting so long to get some birds. But the excitement was very short-lived. It was bittersweet because I'd got to see these birds in person, but he hadn't actually got any available. But he informed me that it was actually in a partnership, Whitehurst and Lamb. And that's how I met Mr. Whitehurst, Jack. So he showed me these lovely birds, and he says, "Look, I don't want to disappoint you because this is our show stock. All the birds get bred at my partner's place, Jack. But we'll just speak to him now, and I'm sure he'll help you out." So we rung Jack, and this was before mobile phones as such, on his house phone. And I remember it now. He rung him, and Jack answered. "Hello?" He says, "It's Philip." "All right, yeah. There's a young lad here who's wanting some game bantams. Can you help him?" "What's he doing there?" He says, "What do you mean?" "Well, you've got none. They're all here. Send the bugger down here." That's just how he said it. He'd not got it on loudspeaker or anything, but I could hear it, so I was a bit like. Anyway, so I had to wait another week. And then we found out where Jack lived. we went to see him after school. We went down this long private drive, and then there was this beautiful bungalow with stone walls all around. And I could hear, when we got out, I could hear the distinctive crow of the game bantam. It's a very high-pitched squeal almost. I remember getting excited. And then Jack come round the corner. Back then, I found some pictures, actually. I'll add a photo. Back then, as you can see from the photo, he stood up straight, not a hair out of place, and a moustache. He had this sergeant major appearance to him. And he said straight away, my granddad got his overalls on and a flat cap, as he always wore, with a belt round, leather belt around the overalls. He said, well, damn me, it's Fred Dibnah. And that's the first thing he ever said. And if any of you guys don't know who Fred Dibnah is, here in England, he's a bit of an engineering legend, and he was a steeplejack, and there was teleprograms of him hung 100 foot up in the air, 300 foot up in the air on a plank, knocking some bricks out or repointing something. Absolutely nerves of steel, this guy. Well, my granddad did happen to look a bit like him, and did happen to have a similar job. So he says, come on in. This is how he speaks. Come on in. So I went in, and his wife was sat there, and a lovely woman his wife was, and sadly she's no longer with us. She was chairman, but you would have never known. Apparently, a lot of people asked her, what part of Derbyshire are you from? So, and her name was Wilhelmina. And she had that dementia at the time, and she used to call me granddad Fred Dibbler. But we sat there and we had a cup of tea, and he says, right, let's go and look at some bantams. So we went down his garden. His garden's perfect. Not a hedge row out of place, not a blade of grass out of place. All the lawns were striped. All box hedges cut into different animals and faces and things. Walked down, we went into what he called the orchard. And in the orchard there were just masses of chicken sheds all over. And he said, right, what kind of game bantams do you want? I said, I want some old English game bantams. He says, I know that. What colour? And very intimidated as a small boy. Well, that's just how he is. Even today, that's how he is. I said, I don't know, Mr. Whitehurst. It's not Mr. Whitehurst, it's Jack. I said, oh, sorry. So I said, I don't know. He said, right, well, I'll tell you what you'll do. Go in there. Oh, no, he says, right, do you know what you're looking for? I said, no, not really. He said, the bird's body should be shaped like a bullock's heart. So you always hold a game bird with its head facing towards you, like a pigeon, and it should drop in your hand, and it should feel like a bullock's heart. He said it should be shaped like a bullock's heart, and a bright red eye, and good round legs, and a whiptail, and he's telling me all about. No split wings, blah blah blah, telling me all. Nice flat back, he's telling me about it. He says, right, you know what you're looking for. I don't have any shit. Go and pick the birds that you want. In which shed? Any shed. Go and pick what you want. So, obviously I never had anything to do with birds, so I went off in this shed. as I went in, the birds was looking a little skittish, and I remember seeing this blue-red cockerel, and it was stunning, but could I ella's like catching? So I caught this other cockerel, and it was a colour called Furnace, which is like black with orange feathering. It looks almost like flames, hence probably why it's called Furnace. So I catches this young cockerel up and takes it out. He went, "No, that's no damn good. It's nice, but you can do better than that. You can pick any that you want. I'll come and help you," he said. So he goes in and he says, "Right, which one do you want?" I said, I really like the look of this blue-red. And the blue-red it's an odd colour. It's a bit like a grey, slate grey coloured bird, which is we call blue. And then it's got red patting on its wings and stuff. Red heckles, which is the feathers down its neck. So I really like that. He says, "That's more like it." So he straight away catch this bird, swooped in, catch this bird. All the birds are going everywhere. I'll be honest, I was frightened to death, really. And he said, "Right, now we need some hens." So he says, we need to, he told me about compatibility. He said, if you get the best cockerel or cock in England and the best hen or pullet in England and breed them together, you'll get nothing. He said you need to learn how to see compatibility. And I'll not bore you with it, but he went into breeding patterns. Even then I can remember now which genes will be dominant and things like that. And he said the cockerels they look impressive. He says all their qualities are exaggerated from the hens, so the shoulders will be broader, everything's more exaggerated. He said, but that's not where the strain comes from. The strain comes from the hens. He says not many people know that the hens pass on the dominant genes. So he picked me 5 compatible hens, and from that very day, we cemented a bond together. And he wouldn't accept no money for these birds. These birds was priceless, absolutely priceless. Even then, they would have been worth £100 each. So there's £600 worth of birds, and he would never accept any money. He says, my granddad tried to give him some money. He says, I've never sold a bird yet, and I'm never going to start now. He said, the trouble is with people these days, they're frightened to death of getting beat. He says, so they don't let other people have their birds. He says, it doesn't matter if you own your bird or somebody else does. If it wins, it's still you who's winning. And that's how he looked at it. He knew that for poultry shows to thrive, people needed to be able to get hold of birds, and good quality birds. He knew that if nobody let anybody have anything, there would be no poultry shows. So that's what cemented our bond. And we kept in touch. And often I'd ring and Wilhelmina would answer. She'd go, hello? And I'd say, hello, Wilhelmina? She'd say, hello. I say, it's Phil Chapman, Fred Dibbler's grandson. Oh, yes. Will you pass a message on? She'd say, yes. He's down the garden. I'd say, okay. He spent a lot of time down the garden. And then he'd ring me back, and not many weeks or months went by, and then Jack Whitehurst started to visit us at our place where our chickens were, and it wasn't long after that I wanted to start showing with the offspring that I'd bred from his birds, and then we'll save that for another series, for another episode, where he showed me how to get the birds ready for show. When he took me shooting for the first time, he taught me respect. When I went shooting, he said, you know, you've got to respect everything. He said, if you don't want to eat it, don't kill it. And I learnt a lot from Jack, you know, that's made me become the shooting man that I am today. So I hope that wasn't too boring. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, whether you want to hear a second episode. We'll probably do getting the birds ready and my first show, and a little bit more into shooting. And so I'll finish my pipe, and you all keep it lit, and I'll see you hopefully on the next episode.